but I won't take it any further because I don't want it repeated. Stuart Nash.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. Look, Mr Speaker, I'm going to pick up on David Cunnam's point of order there. Phil Goff, the Leader of the Opposition, never once said that New Zealanders are going to tax farmers on turnover. Never. What Mr Goff has said repeatedly, is that the tax system has got to be about fairness. What Mr Goff said is that every New Zealander has got to pay their fair share. So what the Labour Party did is they took the figures. They took the figures provided by the IRD, provided by the Minister of Revenue, and what the figures provided by the Minister of Revenue said is that the average farmer, the average dairy farmer, paid tax of $1,500. That is what the figures said. That is what the stats from the IRD said, Mr Speaker. And so the question that Mr Goff posed is that fair? That's the question he posed. Is it fair? Is it fair when hard-working New Zealanders, hard-working salary and wage-earning New Zealanders are paying a significant amount of tax, that the dairy farmer is paying $1,500 on average a year? That is all he was asking. And if Mr Key had a different answer, then he should have given it. Now, it may be slightly higher.
Point of order, Paul Quinn.
We've just had confirmed by the Deputy Leader of the Opposition that, in fact, they have been talking about the 500,000.
Order. I don't think I need any further assistance. Well, I'll hear from the member shortly, but let me first point out to Paul Quinn, and I'd asked the member to resume his seat because a point of order was being called and heard, and I was about to deal with it, and while that point of order is being dealt with, can't have another point of order. But let me make it very clear to Mr Quinn that was not a point of order. Now, if the member wishes to raise a further point of order...
Point of order, Mr.
The Honourable Rick Parker.
Point of order, Mr Speaker. Members are not to use points of order to break up a member's speech. Now, I object to that member's point of order on two grounds. Firstly, it was not a point of order, and secondly, it was a point of order taken deliberately to break up this member's speech. And I ask you, Mr Speaker, to defend our members' rights to have an uninterrupted flow of speaking.
Obviously... No, I won't take any further on this matter. What's difficult for the Speaker, of course, is when someone calls a point of order, I can't foretell what the issue might be. But as soon as I could hear what the member was doing, I sat him down. I went to sit him down, just as the honourable member himself, as soon as he heard what was going on, sought to stop it as well. But I do say to members that points of order must not be used to disrupt another member's speech for no good purpose, unless it is an issue of order. That I will not tolerate that, and if members do that repeatedly, there will be a consequence. Stuart Nash, and I apologise what happened.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, I acknowledge the sum of $1,506 may be a little low. And what I did is I had a look at the figures and I went through the figures and I could not determine a proper figure. There may be stuff held under other tax codes. But Mr Goff asked the question, is it fair, that's what he asked, is it fair that according to the IRD stats, the average dairy farmer pays about $1,500 when the person on the average income pays about $8,000 in tax? Now, Mr Speaker, I would also like to take umbrage at Mr Foss's comments. Mr Foss is chair of the Finance and Expenditure Select Committee, and he stood up here and said the government's tax cuts have been fiscally positive. Well, Mr Speaker, there has been $23 billion, yes, $23 billion worth of tax cuts, and Mr Foss himself has heard the Governor of the Reserve Bank stand at the FEC committee and say there has been no economic stimulation whatsoever from $23 billion worth of tax cuts. They have had no positive effect on the economy. Now, Mr Speaker, I would like to tell the House about a woman in my electorate called Raywin. One year ago, what cost her $85 in food now costs her $115 in food. She has two children that play sport and belong to sports clubs. Her husband drives to work in a car. She earns above the average wage. Well, her husband earns above the average wage, which 75% of New Zealanders don't. She has taken time off work to complete her PhD. She and Raywin's family are the sort of family we want. Good, hard-working. She's bettering herself and she will become a very productive citizen. But, Mr Speaker, Raywin admits that she is not poor, but her family is finding it very, very tough. Mr Speaker, in Napier and around this country, budget services are stretched. Food banks are flooded. Social services have overrun. And I ask, is this the sort of country that we want to live in? Is this the sort of country that we want our children and our grandchildren to inherit? Yes. A country with a working poor who struggle hand to mouth, where the very wealthy just get richer. Those who earn $1 million a year last year received a tax cut of $1,000 a week, and someone on the median wage in Napier received about $10 a week. Now the question I ask, is that fair? And Amy Adams says crocodile tears. She doesn't care about the people of Napier. All Amy Adams cares about are the very wealthy who got $1,000 a week in a tax cut, when the vast majority of New Zealanders receive less than $10. Is that fair? No, it's not. $1,000 a week.
David Bennett.